Children's Dinosaur Encyclopedia. Children's Dinosaur Encyclopedia. Original text by John Malam and Steve Parker. Adapted by Jinny Johnson. Introduction. The dinosaurs lived on Earth from about 250 million to 65 million years ago. They were found all over the world, in deserts and forests and grasslands. Their relatives lived in the air and in the water. This book tells you about the different types of dinosaurs. In the last chapter, you can also learn about their world and why they eventually became extinct. Look in this chapter to find out what words, such as Jurassic period, mean. At the back of the book is a list of useful words, and an alphabetical index of the creatures included. Ancestors of the dinosaurs. Life first appeared on Earth about 3.8 billion years ago. The first simple life forms lived in the sea. From there, life gradually moved on to the land, and into the sky. One group of animals that became very successful in prehistoric times was reptiles. What are reptiles? A reptile is a vertebrate animal. That means it has a backbone, like mammals and birds. Today, most reptiles live on land, but crocodiles live on land and in water, and turtles and some snakes live in water. Reptile characteristics. A reptile is cold-blooded and has scaly skin. It lays eggs with hard shells. When reptiles ruled Earth. Millions of years ago, reptiles were the most successful animals on Earth, just like mammals are today. The reptiles' rule lasted from about 250 million years ago to 65 million years ago. Baryonyx was a large fish-eating dinosaur. Modern reptiles. Lots of reptiles, such as dinosaurs, died out, became extinct, 65 million years ago. But others, including crocodiles, lizards, turtles, and snakes, lived on. Prehistoric reptiles. Dinosaurs ruled life on land for nearly 200 million years. Pterosaurs filled the skies and plesiosaurs swam in the sea. Diplodocus was a sauropod, a giant plant-eating dinosaur. Brachiosaurus was one of the biggest sauropods. Did you know? There are nearly 6,000 species of reptiles still living in the world today. The origin of reptiles. The first reptiles developed from another group of animals called amphibians, which had adapted to life on land. Amphibians were the first creatures to have legs and feet instead of fins. Feet versus fins. An amphibian's foot is different from a fish's fin. It has fingers and toes, which allow it to walk, climb, and dig on land. Fish fin. Amphibian foot. Living a double life. Amphibians are able to walk on land and swim in the water. Just like frogs and newts today, the first amphibians had to lay their soft, jelly-covered eggs in water. The eggs would have dried out if laid on land. Leaving the water. Early amphibians started to spend more time on dry land to avoid being gobbled up by hunters, such as fish and water scorpions. Living on dry land. As the early amphibians spent more and more time on dry land, they gradually changed. Their smooth skin became covered in scales. And they began to lay eggs with hard shells, which hatched on land. They became the world's first reptiles. Modern amphibians. There are more than 4,200 different species of amphibians alive today. These are divided into three groups. Frogs and toads are in one group, newts and salamanders in another, with worm-like creatures called caecilians in the third. Acanthostega. This amphibian was one of the first land animals that had 4 legs and feet with toes. Like other amphibians, Acanthostega evolved from fish that had fleshy, bony fins. Happiest in the water. Its weak legs show that Acanthostega was probably more at home in the water than on land. It could swim well, using its legs as paddles. But it could also have dragged itself around on the shore as it hunted for food to eat. Fish-like but 4 legs. Acanthostega had a tail like a fish and gills for breathing in water. But it had the legs and feet of a land animal. Varied foods. Acanthostega could snap up fish in water. It also caught insects and other small creatures on land. Acanthostega hunting insects on land. Acanthostega's feet. This amphibian had webbed feet, just like ducks and geese today. Its feet would have helped it push its way through the water. Each foot had 8 toes. Did you know? The world's biggest amphibian today is the Chinese giant salamander, which can grow up to 5 feet, 1.5 meters, long. Acanthostega fax. Lived, 370 million years ago. Found, Greenland. Length, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. The first reptiles. 1. The world's first reptiles appeared between 350 and 300 million years ago. They had legs instead of paddle-like limbs, and they laid eggs with hard shells. Patrolactosaurus. This slender lizard was probably a fast-moving hunter. Like lizards today, it raced around, snapping up insects to eat. Patrolactosaurus fax. Lived, 300 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 16 inches, 40 centimeters. Westlothiana. Some experts think that this creature was more like an amphibian than a true reptile. Westlothiana lived close to water and caught creatures such as spiders and insects. Westlothiana fax. Lived, 350 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 12 inches, 30 centimeters. Paleothyrus. Small, lizard-like Paleothyrus hunted insects and other small creatures in its forest home. It had sharp teeth for seizing and biting its prey. Paleothyrus fax. Lived, 300 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 12 inches, 30 centimeters. Parasaurus. It might look scary, but this big, chunky animal ate only plants. Its skin was covered with a lot of hard, bony scales. These could have protected it from enemies and strengthened its heavy body. Parasaurus fax. Lived, 250 million years ago. Found, South Africa, Europe. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Reptile eggs. Reptile eggs have a hard shell, which keeps the contents from dying out. This means that reptiles can lay their eggs on land, not in water like amphibians have to. Yolk sac. Baby reptile. Shell. The first reptiles too. Among the early reptiles there were animals with a lot of different features. Some of these survived, while others did not. Lagosuchus, with its long legs, looked like the later dinosaurs, but it was not a dinosaur. Milleretta. The fast-moving little reptile probably fed on insects. It had a slight dip at the back of its head, which may mean that it had eardrums. Good hearing would have helped it find prey. Milleretta fax. Lived, 250 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Scutosaurus. Heavy-bodied Scutosaurus ate the water plants that floated on lakes and pools. Its teeth had jagged edges, which could easily cut through this tough food. A lot of bony knobs covered its skin and may have protected it from meat-eating hunters. Heavy legs and feet show this was a slow mover. Scutosaurus fax. Lived, 250 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Lagosuchus. The shape of this reptile's body and its long legs show that it was a good runner, like many kinds of dinosaur. It could probably run fast to catch insects to eat, and to escape from predators. Lagosuchus fax. Lived, 230 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 16 inches, 40 centimeters. Reptile and amphibian hands. The shape of an animal's hand tells us something about its life. Amphibians' hands cannot hold things well, but can paddle in water. Reptiles have hands with long slender fingers, just right for seizing prey and for digging nests in the ground. Amphibian hand. Reptile hand. The first reptiles. 3. Some of the early reptiles had features of the dinosaurs that came later. Like dinosaurs, some had diapsid skulls, which means that their skulls had 2 holes on either side. Longisquama. This strange creature had 2 rows of long scales along its back. Some experts think it might have held these out at its sides to use like wings. But others believe they were brightly colored and used to attract mates. Longisquama fax. Lived, 230 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 6 inches, 15 centimeters. Paradipedon. This pig-like animal walked on all fours and fed on tough plants. It chomped through its food with the help of the strong beak at the front of its jaws. Paradipedon facts. Lived, 210 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 4 feet, 1.3 meters. Ferns. Ferns grew on Earth long before flowering plants. They have large divided leaves called fronds and were an important food for creatures such as Paradipedon. Holes in the head. There are 3 kinds of reptile. An anapsid has a box-like skull with no holes. Synapsids have 1 hole each side, and diapsids 2 holes. Muscles were attached across the holes, so jaws could be opened wider. Nostril. Eye socket. Skull openings. 1 anapsid. 2 synapsid. 3 diapsid. Did you know? When these reptiles were alive, most of the world's land was joined in one supercontinent called Pangaea. The word means all earth. Hylonomus. Hylonomus was one of the very first reptiles discovered. Fossils were found in Nova Scotia, Canada, in 1851. The reptile's name means forest mouse and it lived on forest floors. Lizard-like. Hylonomus looked like a small lizard and probably lived like one. Its body was long and slender and it had a lot of small, sharp teeth. It was an anapsid reptile, so it had a solid skull. Hylonomus probably scurried around the forest floor. Forest floor. Hylonomus lived among seed ferns and tree stumps on the forest floor. Here, it searched for food and raised its young. Sharp teeth. Hylonomus hunted for its food. It probably ate insects and other small creatures, such as worms. Its sharp pointed teeth could cut through flesh and possibly even through hard snail shells. Trapped inside tree stumps. A number of Hylonomus fossils were found together. The reptiles had probably climbed into a rotting tree stump to find food. They became trapped there and their remains were fossilized. Did you know? A fossil is part of an animal or plant that has turned into rock over thousands of years. Hylonomus facts. Lived, 310 million years ago. Found, Canada. Length, 8 inches, 20 centimeters. Pellycosaurs and mammal-like reptiles. About 80 million years before the first dinosaurs, 2 groups of reptiles appeared on Earth. First came the sailbacks, or pellycosaurs, from which evolved the mammal-like reptiles. Edaphosaurus. This reptile had an amazing row of skin-covered spines on its back that looked like a large sail. It had a lot of blunt teeth, shaped like little pegs. These were better suited to eating plants than meat. Skin-covered spines made up a sail. Edaphosaurus facts. Lived, 280 million years ago. Found, North America, Europe. Length, 14 feet, 3.5 meters. Dimetrodon. Fierce Dimetrodon was a predator. It had a big head and powerful jaws, packed with sharp teeth. Experts don't know what the huge sail on its back was for, but it might have helped it warm up or attract mates. Dimetrodon facts. Lived, 280 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 14 feet, 3.5 meters. Dimetrodon teeth. This reptile's name means 2 types of teeth. It had long sharp teeth at the front of its jaws. Behind these were smaller teeth that would have been good for cutting through meat. Moschops. Biggest of all the mammal-like reptiles was Moschops, which had a barrel-like body and thick legs. It fed on plants that it bit off using strong blunt teeth. Moschops facts. Lived, 260 million years ago. Lived, South Africa. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Mammal-like reptiles 1. The first mammal-like reptiles lived about 300 million years ago. They died out about 180 million years ago. These animals had skulls like mammals, but most walked like reptiles, with their legs out at the sides. Estiminosuchus. This big reptile lived around pools and lakes. It probably moved around in herds and ate both plants and animals. It may have used its horns in fierce battles with rival males, just like stags do today. Estiminosuchus facts. Lived, 255 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Horned head. Estymenosuchus gets its name, which means crowned crocodile, from the horns on its head. Tapinocephalus. This slow-moving plant eater had a very thick skull. Experts don't know exactly why, but perhaps it took part in headbutting battles to decide who led the herd. The thick bones would have protected its head as it smashed into a rival. Thick bones may have protected the head in battles. Tapinocephalus facts. Lived, 270 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Priscinosuchus. Meat-eating Priscinosuchus belonged to a group of mammal-like reptiles called cynodonts. It could swim by wriggling its body and paddling with its webbed hands and feet. Priscinosuchus facts. Lived, 260 million years ago. Found, South Africa, Europe. Length, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Mammal-like reptiles too. Later mammal-like reptiles were more like mammals today. Thrinaxodon, for instance, may have had hair. And Lycaenops walked upright like a mammal, not with legs sprawled out at its sides like a lizard. Lycaenops. This creature's name means wolf face, and it did look very like a wolf or dog. It had strong jaws and big, sharp teeth for tearing prey apart. Lycaenops facts. Lived, 260 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Thrinaxodon. Thrinaxodon looked very like a mammal. It could breathe while eating, something mammals can do but most reptiles can't. Thrinaxodon facts. Lived, 250 million years ago. Found, South Africa, Antarctica. Length, 20 inches, 50 centimeters. Lystrosaurus. This mammal-like reptile lived much like a hippo today. It probably waded into lakes and fed on plants that it cropped with the bony beak at the front of its jaws. Lystrosaurus facts. Lived, 250 million years ago. Found, South Africa, Asia, Antarctica. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Plants as food. At the time of the mammal-like reptiles, there were no flowering plants or grasses like those we know today. But there were plenty of plants for the reptiles to eat, such as ferns, conifers, and horsetails. Did you know? Mammal-like reptiles dominated life on Earth for 80 million years. Mammals, like us, are descended from these reptile ancestors. The Permian mass extinction. About 248 million years ago, at the end of the period of time known as the Permian, something terrible happened on Earth. Huge numbers of animals on land and in the sea were wiped out forever. No one knows exactly what caused this, but there are a lot of different ideas. Death from volcanoes. Many volcanoes erupted at this time. The eruptions sent carbon dioxide and other gases into the air. These may have created acid rain that killed plants. Animals would have starved to death. Death by suffocation. Frequent volcanic eruptions meant there would have been more of the gas called carbon dioxide in the air. Animals would have found it hard to breathe and may have suffocated. Once plants and plant eaters died, it would have been harder and harder for the meat eaters to find food. Death from space. Another possibility is that a space rock called a meteorite hit the Earth at this time. The impact of the rock could have made volcanoes erupt, filling the air with poisonous gases and killing plants and animals. Death by freezing. Some experts think that it became very, very cold on Earth at the end of the Permian. Ice spread from the North and South poles. Perhaps the weather was so cold for such a long time that a lot of animals died. Pangaea. As land masses moved to form the huge supercontinent called Pangaea, sea levels changed. This might have made life difficult for sea creatures living in shallow waters, but it doesn't explain why so many land animals died. The Carboniferous world. Euramerica. Gondwanaland. Tethys Sea. Panthalassa. The Triassic world. Pangaea. Mammal-like reptiles 3. A lot of mammal-like reptiles were wiped out in the mass extinction 248 million years ago. But some, such as Cynognathus, survived, and they are the ancestors of mammals today. Cynognathus. This fierce creature probably hunted in packs and attacked much larger animals, such as Cannemyria. It may have had a hairy coat. This reptile's name means dog jaw. Cynognithus fax. Lived, 230 million years ago. Found, South Africa, South America, Antarctica. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Teeth like a mammal's. Cynognithus had several types of teeth, like a mammal. At the front were sharp teeth for attacking prey, and it also had long fang-like canine teeth. Farther back were cheek teeth with sharp points for cutting through flesh. Cannemyria. Cannemyria's only teeth were the 2 tusks growing from its top jaws. It didn't have any other teeth, but it could bite off mouthfuls of plant food with its strong beak. Cannemyria fax. Lived, 230 million years ago. Found, South Africa, Asia, South America, Antarctica. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Placerias. A plant-eating reptile, Placerias may have used its big tusks to dig up roots and other food. It could cut through the toughest plants with its sharp beak. Placerias fax. Lived, 215 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 11.5 feet, 3.5 meters. Killers and scavengers. The first meat-eating dinosaurs appeared about 225 million years ago. They included the world's biggest ever predators. These killers terrorized the world's plant eaters for more than 160 million years, until all the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. Theropods, the meat eaters. All meat-eating dinosaurs are called theropods. The name means beast feet. Most of these dinosaurs moved upright on their slender back legs. They could run fast, much faster than the plant eaters they hunted. Creature features. Most of the meat-eating dinosaurs had bird-like feet with clawed toes. They had sharp clawed hands for attacking and holding onto their prey. Hand and foot of a meat-eating dinosaur. Did you know? A Tyrannosaurus's back feet were as much as 3 feet, 1 meter, long. Changes over time. Meat-eating dinosaurs adapted over millions of years. Later species were more intelligent and had longer legs and sharper eyes than earlier predators. Troodon. Albertosaurus. Dromaeosaurus. Dromaeosaurus. Daspletosaurus. Teeth and beaks. Many of the meat-eaters had strong jaws and big teeth. Others had toothless beaks they might have used for cracking eggs. Tyrannosaurus. Dromaeosaurus. The first meat-eaters. These dinosaurs first appeared about 225 million years ago, during the Triassic. They were smaller than later predators, such as Tyrannosaurus, and not such fierce hunters. Coelophysis. This dinosaur was built for speed. Its leg bones were almost hollow, which made it light and able to run fast. Coelophysis fax. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Eoraptor. One of the earliest dinosaurs, Eoraptor moved quickly on its slender back legs. It was a meat-eater, but it may have also eaten animals that were already dead. This is called scavenging. Eoraptor's long jaws were lined with a lot of small saw-edged teeth. Eoraptor fax. Lived, 225 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Herrerasaurus. Another fast-moving hunter, Herrerasaurus had arms that were much shorter than its legs. It held its tail straight out behind it when it ran to balance its weight. Herrerasaurus fax. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Fast movers. Meat-eaters had to be sure-footed as well as fast, so they could turn at speed when chasing prey and still keep their balance. Going fishing. Some of these small predators, such as Eoraptor, may have fed on fish as well as hunting land animals. Giants 1. Later species of meat-eating dinosaurs were much bigger than the earliest types. These huge creatures had strong teeth for biting meat and sharp claws for tearing at their prey's skin. Dilophosaurus. This dinosaur probably moved in groups, searching for prey. The crest on its head may have been brightly colored and used to attract mates or to signal to others in its group. Dilophosaurus fax. Lived, 190 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Allosaurus. The largest meat eater of its time, Allosaurus was a huge creature with big powerful back legs and a thick S-shaped neck. Its teeth had jagged edges for slicing through flesh. Allosaurus fax. Lived, 140 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 40 feet, 12 meters. Giganotosaurus. This massive hunter was even larger than Tyrannosaurus. Its biggest teeth were an amazing 8 inches, 20 centimeters, long and could slice deep into the flesh of its prey. Giganotosaurus fax. Lived, 90 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 50 feet, 15 meters. Scavengers. Meat-eating dinosaurs may have been scavengers as well as hunters. This means that they ate animals that had died of old age, or been killed by others. By scavenging, an animal gets a meal without much effort. Giants too. Powerful bodies and razor-sharp teeth and claws made these dinosaurs very good hunters. Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur had a large head, with a short horn on the tip of its nose and big horny bumps near its eyes. It might have showed these off to help attract mates in the breeding season. Ceratosaurus fax. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America, Africa. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Albertosaurus. Like most of its relatives, Albertosaurus was a fast runner. When chasing prey, this dinosaur could probably race along at up to 18.5 miles, 30 kilometers, per hour. Albertosaurus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. The Rhizinosaurus. This dinosaur had claws up to 2 feet, 70 centimeters, long. It may have used them to break open termite nests or to cram plants into its mouth. There was a hard beak at the end of the jaws. The Rhizinosaurus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 40 feet, 12 meters. Pack hunters. Meat-eating dinosaurs probably hunted in packs. Together, they could attack and kill animals much larger than themselves, even giant sauropods. Tyrannosaurus. One of the best known of all dinosaurs, this mighty hunter lived toward the end of the dinosaurs' rule on Earth. Powerful killer. Tyrannosaurus was strongly built and walked upright on its 2 big back legs. It held its tail out behind it to help balance the weight of its heavy head and chest. It had good eyesight for seeing its prey at a distance. Big head, big teeth. Tyrannosaurus had a huge head, up to 5 feet, 1.5 meters, long. Its jaws were packed with 50 or 60 razor-sharp teeth. Some were 9 inches, 23 centimeters, long. Surprise attacker. Tyrannosaurus lived in open woodland and often sneaked up on plant-eating dinosaurs as they stood feeding peacefully. It got as close as it could before making a final high-speed dash and pouncing on its prey. Tyrannosaurus bursts out from the trees to attack a group of Edmontosaurus dinosaurs. Full to bursting. Like lions and tigers today, Tyrannosaurus probably didn't eat every day. If it killed a large plant eater, it would gobble up as much as it could and be satisfied for several days. Small arms. This dinosaur's arms were so tiny they didn't even reach up to its mouth. But its claws were very useful for seizing hold of prey. Tyrannosaurus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 40 feet, 12 meters. Spinosaurs. The Spinosaur's huge sails were made of long spines covered with skin. The sail may have helped the dinosaur control its body temperature, or been used to attract mates or frighten off enemies. Spinosaurus. Like other spinosaurs, this huge dinosaur fed on fish that it caught in its long, toothy jaws. The sail may have been brightly colored. Spinosaurus fax. Lived, 100 million years ago. Found, Africa. Length, 50 feet, 15 meters. Suchomimus. This dinosaur had a 4-foot-long, 1.2-meter, snout, inside which were about 100 pointed teeth. It also had an extra long claw on each hand, just right for hooking fish out of water. Suchomimus fax. Lived, 105 million years ago. Found, North Africa. Length, 36 feet, 11 meters. Irritator. Irritator had crocodile-like jaws packed with hook-shaped teeth for snaring fish. Irritator fax. Lived, 100 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 26 feet, 8 meters. Soaking up the sun. A spinosaur might have sat with its sail in the sun each morning, soaking up enough heat to keep it warm and active all day long. Did you know? A spinosaur's big spiny sail was about 6.5 feet, 2 meters, high. That's taller than most adult people. Baryonyx. In 1983 a fossil collector made a very exciting find. He discovered a giant claw in a clay pit in the south of England. Later, scientists found many more baryonyx bones at the site. Watery habitat. Baryonyx lived near rivers and pools, where it hunted for fish to eat. Other creatures, such as turtles and crocodiles, lived in these waters, too. Giant thumb claw. This dinosaur had 3 fingers on each hand. All the fingers were tipped with sharp claws, and the claw on each inside finger was about 14 inches, 35 centimeters, long. All the claws had a tough covering. The name Baryonyx means heavy claw. Long-necked carnivore. Baryonyx walked upright on its back legs. Its head was narrow and it had a long nose, like a crocodile. Most big meat-eating dinosaurs had S-shaped necks, but Baryonyx's neck was straight. Its tail was long and heavy. Diet of fish. When the first fossils of Baryonyx were found, they even had the remains of the dinosaur's last meal in the stomach. The remains were of a fish called lepidotes. Baryonyx snatches a big fish from the water using its long toothy jaws. Tooth-filled jaws. Baryonyx had long jaws, packed with 96 small sharp teeth. They were perfect for snapping up fish. Baryonyx fax. Lived, 125 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Oviraptor. This meat-eating dinosaur had long fingers tipped with strong curved claws that were perfect for seizing prey. It may have had a covering of feathers on some parts of its body, especially its arms. Fierce killer. Oviraptor was a fast-moving hunter. It probably chased smaller reptiles and insects, which it killed with its sharp claws and beak. It may also have eaten some plants. Carrying parent. Millions of years ago, Oviraptor lived in desert areas in Asia. It probably moved and hunted in groups. Unlike most dinosaurs, Oviraptor took good care of its eggs and may also have looked after its young once they hatched. An oviraptor checks its eggs to make sure they are safe. Oviraptor skull. This dinosaur's skull was small and light, with big holes for its eyes. It had a toothless beak at the front of its jaws and a tall, bony crest on top of its head. Nests and hatchlings. Oviraptor laid 15 to 20 eggs in a little heap of sand on the ground. The dinosaur sat on these eggs to keep them warm until they hatched. Oviraptor fax. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 6 feet, 1.8 meters. Ornithomimids. These dinosaurs looked very like the big flightless birds, such as ostriches, that we know today. They ran upright on their long back legs and had toothless beaks. Dinosaurs. Only the arm bones of this dinosaur have ever been found, but experts think it was an ornithomimid. Dinosaurs may have been twice the size of Gallimimus. Dinosaurus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, uncertain. Did you know? Dinosaurs had enormous claws that were up to 10 inches, 25 centimeters, long. Gallimimus. When Gallimimus ran, it held its long tail straight out behind it to help it keep its balance. This was one of the largest of the ornithomimid dinosaurs. Gallimimus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Ornithomimus. Like all ornithomimids, this dinosaur could run fast to catch prey and to escape from danger. Long, slim legs show that this dinosaur was a fast mover. Ornithomimus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 11.5 feet, 3.5 meters. A mixed diet. Ornithomimids probably ate plants as well as small creatures. Their long fingers and sharp claws were the right shape for digging for insects and plants. Dromaeosaurs. All these dinosaurs were very fierce hunters. They had big sharp claws on their feet and strong hands for grabbing hold of their prey. Utahraptor. The claw on Utahraptor's second toe was 15 inches, 38 centimeters, long. The dinosaur attacked prey with these killer claws while holding on tight with its strong hands. Utahraptor facts. Lived, 125 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 21 feet, 6.5 meters. Dromaeosaurus. This dinosaur, like other dromaeosaurs, could speed along at 37 miles, 60 kilometers, per hour. It had a lot of sharp teeth and a large curved claw on each foot. Dromaeosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 6 feet, 1.8 meters. Velociraptor. Velociraptor had sharp, serrated teeth and a large sickle-shaped claw on each foot. It held its big foot claws off the ground when it wasn't attacking prey, so they didn't get worn down and blunt. Fossils have been found of Velociraptor attacking a Protoceratops dinosaur. Velociraptor facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 6 feet, 1.8 meters. Clever hunters. Dromaeosaurs probably hunted in packs, working together to bring down much larger animals. Deinonychus. This meat-eater was a fierce hunter that had deadly claws on each foot. By hunting in packs, it could attack and kill prey much larger than itself. Speedy hunter. Deinonychus ran fast on its long back legs, holding its tail out behind to help it balance. On its hands were 3 fingers, each with a sharp curved claw. Terrible claw. Deinonychus means terrible claw. It got this name because of the curved claw on the second toe of each foot, which could grow up to 5 inches, 13 centimeters, long. Tearing teeth. Deinonychus's jaws were packed with teeth with jagged edges. Some were up to 3 inches, 8 centimeters, long. Killer or scavenger. Deinonychus was one of the top hunters in the area and time it lived in. But it may have eaten animals that were already dead as well as hunting for its own prey. A pack of Deinonychus attacking a large plant-eating dinosaur. Deinonychus facts. Lived, 110 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Dinobirds. These small meat-eating dinosaurs looked like birds, with feathery arms and big beaks. They could even use their clawed feet to climb into trees. Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx had feathers like a bird, but teeth and a bony tail like a reptile. It may have been able to fly short distances. Archaeopteryx facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Protarchaeopteryx. Its feathery arms and tail make this dinosaur look very like a bird, but it probably couldn't fly. Protarchaeopteryx facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Bambiraptor. This little dinosaur was about the size of a chicken and had a covering of downy feathers. It couldn't fly, but it could run fast to catch prey, such as small reptiles and mammals. Bambiraptor facts. Lived, 75 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Did you know? Bambiraptor was named after Bambi because of its small size. Taking to the trees. Like birds, feathered dinosaurs could dart about in trees to find food and escape from enemies. Giant plant-eating dinosaurs. Biggest of all the plant-eating dinosaurs were the sauropods. Experts think these huge long-necked dinosaurs were the largest animals that have ever lived on land. The sauropods. The first sauropods lived about 220 million years ago, and there were many different kinds. The name means lizard feet. Creature features. Sauropods walked on all fours on their big heavy legs. They all had long necks and tails, but their heads were very small. Brachiosaurus. Camarasaurus. A herd of Diplodocus feeds alongside other sauropods on the riverbank. Strong legs. A sauropod needed strong legs to support its heavy body. The biggest bones in a sauropod's body were its leg bones. Food for all. Full-grown sauropods could feed on leaves at the tops of trees. Their young ate the leaves lower down, gulping their food down. Sauropods used their teeth for stripping leaves from branches. They couldn't chew properly, so just gulped their food down whole. Big for defense. Being big helped protect sauropods from fierce predators. They couldn't run away fast, but they could lash out at enemies with their long tails. Where in the world? Fossils of these dinosaurs have been discovered in most parts of the world, but none have been found in Antarctica yet. Prosauropods. These dinosaurs lived before the sauropods, but they died out about 180 million years ago. Like the sauropods, they had long necks and small heads. Plateosaurus. Plateosaurus probably spent most of its time on all fours. But it may also have been able to rear up on its back legs to reach leaves high in the trees. Plateosaurus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Rheohisaurus. This was one of the largest of the sauropods. But it wasn't very heavy because some of its bones were hollow. This helped to keep its weight down. Rheohisaurus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 36 feet, 11 meters. Mosaurus. A full-grown mosaurus was about the size of a hippo. It probably moved around in herds, looking for plants to eat. Mosaurus facts. Lived, 215 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Did you know? Mighty Mosaurus laid eggs that were only 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, long. That's smaller than a chicken's egg. Massospondylus. Massospondylus was a typical prosauropod. It had a bulky body, a long neck and tail, and a small head. It lived in the early Jurassic period, before the huge sauropods. Reaching up. This big plant eater could probably stand up on its back legs for a short while to feed on leaves high in the trees. Teeth like pegs. The peg-like teeth of this dinosaur were just the right shape for stripping leaves from branches. Stomach stones. Some dinosaurs, such as Massospondylus, couldn't chew very well. Instead they swallowed stones that helped grind up the food into a mush in their stomach. Tree eater. The main foods of Massospondylus were the needle-like leaves of conifer trees, as well as ginkgo leaves and horsetail plants. Massospondylus reaches up to eat some ginkgo leaves. Thumb claws. This dinosaur had 4 sharp clawed fingers on each hand. And there was an extra-large claw on each of its thumbs. Massospondylus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Africa, North America. Length, 16 feet, 5 meters. Cetiosaurs. These were some of the earliest sauropods. All had a heavy body and a solid backbone. Some later sauropods had bones that were partly hollow, which made them lighter. Cetiosaurus. Cetiosaurus is famous for being the first sauropod to be discovered. Its giant bones were found in England in 1809. Cetiosaurus walked on 4 pillar-like legs. Cetiosaurus facts. Lived, 175 million years ago. Found, Europe, Africa. Length, 60 feet, 18 meters. Barapasaurus. Barapasaurus had a long tail and neck like other cetiosaurs. Its spoon-shaped teeth had jagged edges for stripping leaves from branches. Barapasaurus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 60 feet, 18 meters. Shinosaurus. This cetiosaur had a spiky lump of bone at the end of its tail. It could use this to defend itself against attackers. Shinosaurus is the only sauropod to have had a clubbed tail. Shinosaurus facts. Lived, 170 million years ago. Found, China. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Did you know? Cetiosaur means whale lizard. These dinosaurs got this name because at first people thought they were huge sea creatures. Camarasaurs. These sauropods first lived in the late Jurassic period. Unlike other giant plant eaters, camarasaurs had teeth that pointed forward. Camarasaurus. This dinosaur's strong jaws were packed with big spoon-shaped teeth. They were shaped for cutting through twigs and branches. Camarasaurus's teeth were more than 1.5 inches, 4 centimeters, wide. Camarasaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America, Europe. Length, 60 feet, 18 meters. Twigs. Camarasaurus was able to feed on the hard parts of plants because of its strong teeth. Camarasaurus skull. Its skull shows that this dinosaur had big eyes and nostrils. It probably had good senses of sight and smell. Nostril. Eye socket. Holes for muscles. Euhelipus. Many sauropods had teeth only at the front of their mouth. Euhelipus had teeth all around its jaws, as did Camarasaurus. Euhelipus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 50 feet, 15 meters. Did you know? Euhelipus's neck was 16 feet, 5 meters, long and was made up of 19 vertebrae. Even a giraffe has only 7 vertebrae in its neck. Brachiosaurus. Huge Brachiosaurus had an amazingly long neck. This meant it could reach out and munch on a lot of different plants without moving far. A good sense of smell. Brachiosaurus had big nostrils at the top of its head. It may have had a good sense of smell, so it could smell food and other animals before it could see them. Nostril. Eye socket. Miniature brain. This huge creature had a small head for its body and a tiny brain. Its front legs were longer than its back legs, so its body sloped down toward its short tail. Brachiosaurus dinosaurs would have stripped the leaves from trees. Living in a group. Brachiosaurus probably moved around in a group, or herd. The dinosaurs would have spent most of their time looking for food and eating. High and low. Brachiosaurus may have reared up on its back legs to reach high leaves. Or it may have kept all 4 feet firmly on the ground as it swung its long neck from side to side to find food. Did you know? A big animal like Brachiosaurus needed a lot of food. It may have eaten 440 pounds, 200 kilograms, of plants every day. Brachiosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Africa, Europe, North America. Length, 80 feet, 25 meters. Diplotocids 1. This group of dinosaurs includes the longest animals that have ever lived on Earth. There were a lot of these dinosaurs in the late Jurassic period. Mamenchisaurus. This Chinese dinosaur had one of the longest necks of any dinosaur. It made up more than half the animal's length and it measured an amazing 45 feet, 14 meters, long. Mamenchisaurus's neck contained as many as 19 vertebrae. Mamenchisaurus facts. Lived, 160 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 80 feet, 25 meters. Seismosaurus. This was one of the biggest of the diplotocids. Only one skeleton has ever been found. Seismosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 130 feet, 40 meters. Barosaurus. Although it was so huge, Barosaurus might have been able to rear up on its back legs to feed on leaves high in the trees. This dinosaur's big tail helped to support its weight. A diplotocid's head was tiny compared to its big body. Barosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America, Africa. Length, 90 feet, 27 meters. Tail like a whip. A diplotocid's tail had a long, thin tip like a whip. The dinosaur could lash out against an attacker with its tail. This could cause serious wounds and scare the enemy away. Did you know? A diplotocid dinosaur could weigh over 30 tons, more than the weight of 5 full-grown elephants. Diplotocids too. Big dinosaurs, such as diplotocids, may have lived to be more than 100 years old. During its life, a diplotocid would have eaten many tons of plant leaves, stems, and twigs. Supersaurus. This supersized dinosaur was almost as long as 2 tennis courts. It may have weighed more than 55 tons, 50 tons. These dinosaurs moved around in herds, feeding on plants. Supersaurus's neck was 40 feet, 12 meters, long. Supersaurus had big broad feet to help support its great weight. Supersaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 140 feet, 42 meters. Amargasaurus. This dinosaur had a double row of spines on its back. These may have been covered with skin. Amargasaurus facts. Lived, 130 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. A neck frill? The neck frill may have helped the dinosaur attract a mate. Or it may have been used to scare enemies away. Small heads. Diplodocus was more than 3 times the size of meat-eating Allosaurus, but it had a smaller head. Diplodocus, 11 tons. Allosaurus, 3.3 tons. Diplodocus. This is one of the biggest and best known of the diplotocids. Experts used to think it dragged its tail on the ground. But fossilized tracks show that it held its tail up as it walked. Lightweight beast. Although Diplodocus was so long, it weighed only 11 tons, 10 tons. This was less than some other sauropods. The dinosaur was light for its size because many of the bones in its back were hollow. Fern eater. Diplodocus probably couldn't lift its head very high. So it may have eaten a lot of low-growing plants, such as ferns. Extra bones. There was an extra bone beneath each of the vertebrae making up this dinosaur's backbone. These extra bones strengthened the tail. Long neck, tiny head. This giant dinosaur's neck was up to about 26 feet, 8 meters, long. But its head was tiny. It measured only about 20 inches, 50 centimeters. Diplodocus teeth. Diplodocus had 50 to 60 weak teeth in the front of its mouth, but no teeth for chewing food. Teeth. Diplodocus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 90 feet, 27 meters. Titanosaurs 1. This group of sauropods first lived in the late Jurassic. Their name means gigantic lizards. Alamosaurus. So far, Alamosaurus is the only titanosaur from North America. It lived until the end of the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago, when dinosaurs were wiped out. Alamosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 70 feet, 21 meters. Argentinosaurus. This enormous creature may have weighed as much as 110 tons, 100 tons. Only the biggest meat-eaters, such as Giganotosaurus, would have dared attack such a monster. Argentinosaurus facts. Lived, 90 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 100 feet, 30 meters. Saltosaurus. Saltosaurus had a long neck and tail like other sauropods. But, unusually, it also had armored skin that may have helped protect it from meat-eaters. Saltosaurus facts. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 40 feet, 12 meters. Body armor. Saltosaurus's back was studded with bony plates, about 4 inches, 10 centimeters, across, and pea-sized lumps of bone. Titanosaurs 2. Fossils of titanosaurs have been found in most parts of the world, but not in Australia or Antarctica. Some fossilized titanosaur eggs have been found in South America. Janancha. Only one incomplete fossil of Janancha has ever been found. Some experts think that it may belong to the Camarasaur group of dinosaurs. Janancha facts. Lived, 155 million years ago. Found, Africa. Length, 80 feet, 24 meters. Peralititan. Like other titanosaurs, Peralititan had teeth like little pegs at the front of its jaws. It used these to strip leaves from branches. Peralititan facts. Lived, 95 million years ago. Found, Africa. Length, 82 feet, 25 meters. Where Peralititan lived. Peralititan lived in Africa, near the coast and in swamps, where there were a lot of plants to eat. Did you know? Peralititan was one of the heaviest of all dinosaurs. It may have weighed 55 to 90 tons, 50 to 80 tons. Strong heart. A sauropod dinosaur needed a big strong heart to pump blood around its body. The heart had to work extra hard to pump blood right up to the sauropod's head. Lung. Heart. Windpipe. Stomach. Intestines. Titanosaurus. The first fossil of this dinosaur to be found was a leg bone discovered in India in 1871. Soon more bones were dug up and scientists realized this was a new species of dinosaur. Naming the new dinosaur. Titanosaurus was named after the Titans in ancient Greek stories. The Titans had great strength and special powers. A herd of Titanosaurus dinosaurs arrives at the riverbank to drink. Old and young together. Titanosaurus lived in a herd. This was a group of dinosaurs, old and young, that moved around together. Young animals walked in the center of the herd for safety. Stones in the stomach. Flowering plants, such as magnolias, had started to grow on Earth by Titanosaurus time. The dinosaur fed on the leaves of these trees and others. It swallowed stones to help grind down the food in its stomach. Death of a giant. Big meat eaters usually attacked the younger or weaker members of a Titanosaurus herd. Titanosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Africa, Asia, Europe, South America. Length, 65 feet, 20 meters. Armor, horns, and plates. Sauropods were not the only plant-eating dinosaurs. Other kinds included armored dinosaurs, stegosaurs, and horned dinosaurs. They were all smaller than sauropods, but they had their own built-in body armor. Plated, armored, bone-headed, and horned dinosaurs. All these groups of dinosaurs had horns or other bony lumps and bumps on their body. These helped protect them from meat eaters. Plated dinosaurs. The plated dinosaurs were called stegosaurs. All had rows of large bony plates sticking up along the back. Stegosaurus. Torosaurus. Euplocephalus. Spiky tail. Stegosaurs had long sharp spikes at the end of their tails. Armored dinosaurs. This group included nodosaurs and ankylosaurs. Both types had bony plates in the skin and spikes on the body. Bone-headed and horned dinosaurs. These dinosaurs get their names from their heads, on which were sharp horns or specially thickened bones. Elephant-like legs. Most of these dinosaurs had thick legs, like those of an elephant. These legs were short and stiff, but strong enough to carry the dinosaur's heavy body. Did you know? One of the biggest of the armored dinosaurs was Ankylosaurus, which weighed up to 4.4 tons, 4 tons. Stegosaurus 1. The first stegosaurs lived about 170 million years ago. There were a lot of different kinds and they lived in Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America. The last stegosaurs died out about 90 million years ago. Dinosaurs. This stegosaur had 2 rows of big bony spikes along its back and down to the tip of its tail. Dinosaurs had a small head like other stegosaurs. Bony spike. Dinosaurs facts. Lived, 155 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Celodosaurus. Celodosaurus came before the stegosaurs and was related to them. Its body was covered with a lot of bony studs that made it hard to attack. Celodosaurus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Kentrosaurus. Kentrosaurus was very well armored. On its back were 2 rows of 7 bony plates. Then came 2 rows of bony spines. And there was a big sharp spike on each hip. Kentrosaurus facts. Lived, 155 million years ago. Found, Africa. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Tiny heads. All stegosaurs had small heads. The head was about the same size as the head of a meat-eating dromaeosaur. At the front of the mouth was a hard beak for chopping mouthfuls of plants. Stegosaur head. Dromaeosaur head. Stegosaurus 2. Stegosaurs may have shown off their bony plates to attract mates. Or the plates may have helped control body heat. Lexovisaurus. As well as bony plates, this stegosaur had a big spike sticking out from each shoulder. Lexovisaurus fax. Lived, 165 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Wyangosaurus. This was one of the earliest stegosaurs. It had teeth at the front of its mouth. Later stegosaurs did not. Wyangosaurus fax. Lived, 165 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 15 feet, 4.5 meters. Tojangosaurus. 15 pairs of pointed bony plates lined the back of this Chinese stegosaur. Like other stegosaurs, it fed on plants, such as ferns and cycads. Tojangosaurus fax. Lived, 155 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Hip and shoulder spines. These sharp spines jutting out from the body helped the stegosaur protect itself from attackers. Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus was the biggest stegosaur. A lot of fossils have been found, so it is also the best known of its family. Roof reptile. When fossils of this dinosaur were first found, experts thought that the bony plates lay flat, covering the animal's back like a turtle's shell. Because of this, the dinosaur was given the name Stegosaurus, which means roofed reptile. Later, they realized that the plates actually stood upright. Sting in the tail. Stegosaurus was a slow-moving plant eater. It probably moved around in small groups. If attacked, Stegosaurus could not run away very fast, so it stood still and hit out against its enemy with its spiky tail. Two males fight over a female Stegosaurus. They turn their bodies sideways to show off their full size. Stegosaurus plate pattern. Experts aren't sure how the bony plates were arranged. They may have been in one row, in pairs, or overlapping in a staggered row. Did you know? The skin covering the plates on a stegosaur's back may have flushed red with blood when the animal was excited or scared. Stegosaurus fax. Lived, 140 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. The nodosaurs. The first armored dinosaurs were the nodosaurs. They all had lumps of bone set into the skin on their backs. This made them much harder for meat-eating dinosaurs to attack. Minmi. Minmi was the first armored dinosaur to be found in the southern hemisphere. Unusually, bony plates also protected Minmi's belly. Minmi fax. Lived, 115 million years ago. Found, Australia. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Gustonia. This dinosaur was a fearsome sight. It had big sharp spikes sticking out of its sides as well as bony studs on its back. The spikes were up to 1 foot, 30 centimeters, long. Gustonia fax. Lived, 125 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Edmontonia. Huge spines grew from the shoulders and sides of this dinosaur. They faced forward and probably protected it from predators. Edmontonia fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Dinosaur body armor. The skin of armored dinosaurs was covered with pieces of bone. Some were flat, others pointed. In between were little bony lumps, about the size of a pea. The ankylosaurs. These armored dinosaurs had a special weapon. An ankylosaur had a lump of bone like a club at the end of its tail. It could swing this against an attacker. Euplocephalus. This dinosaur looked like a walking suit of armor. It lived in forests, and the dinosaurs may have moved around in herds. Euplocephalus even had bony eyelids. Euplocephalus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Tilaurus. Large bony spikes covered the back and tail of this ankylosaur. Like other ankylosaurs, it had a heavy club of bone at the end of its tail. Tilaurus facts. Lived, 85 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Pinacosaurus. This ankylosaur's head was only partly covered with bone. It lived in hot, dry areas of China and Mongolia. Pinacosaurus facts. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Armored head. An ankylosaur's head was broad, with a big beak for biting off mouthfuls of plants. Plates of bone covered the head. Did you know? An ankylosaur could break a tyrannosaur's leg with a blow from its clubbed tail. Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur was one of the largest ankylosaurs. It had a big rounded body, shaped like a barrel, and was twice as wide as it was tall. Its legs were short but strong. Body armor. The top of Ankylosaurus's body was covered with thick plates of bone. Rows of big sharp spikes grew along the dinosaur's back, and it had horns at the back of its head. Only its belly was unprotected. Ankylosaurus skull. At the front of Ankylosaurus's jaws was a wide, toothless beak. Further back were a lot of small teeth, which it used for chewing food. Warning sign. If attacked, Ankylosaurus hit out with its clubbed tail. Its skin may have blushed red as a warning sign that the dinosaur was getting angry. A tyrannosaur is wounded by a blow from Ankylosaurus's clubbed tail. Low feeder. Ankylosaurus had short legs and couldn't reach up to high branches. If fed on low-growing plants, which it snapped up with its wide beak. Ankylosaurus tail club. The heavy club at the end of Ankylosaurus's tail was made of two balls of bones joined together. Ankylosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Ceratopsians 1. All ceratopsians had a parrot-like beak at the front of the mouth. They ranged from the size of a turkey to the size of an elephant. Leptoceratops. This small dinosaur had a slim body and could probably move quite fast. Leptoceratops had a small bony neck frill. Leptoceratops facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Australia, North America. Length, 6 feet, 2 meters. Protoceratops. A nest of fossilized eggs laid by this dinosaur was found in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. The eggs were about 8 inches, 20 centimeters, long and arranged in a circle in a little dip in the sand. Protoceratops facts. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Psittacosaurus. This dinosaur walked upright on its two back legs. It may have used its hands to gather plant food, which it cut through with its sharp beak. Psittacosaurus facts. Lived, 130 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Dinosaur beak. Psittacosaurus's beak looks very like a parrot's beak. The beak was covered with a tough material called horn. Did you know? Psittacosaurus means parrot lizard. The dinosaur was given this name because of its beak. Ceratopsians 2. Some of these dinosaurs had very large bony neck frills. The skin over the frill may have been brightly colored and helped the dinosaur attract a mate. Pachyrhinosaurus. Pachyrhinosaurus had a bony lump on its nose as well as a neck frill. We don't know if it had a horn as well, because no complete skulls have yet been found. Pachyrhinosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Torosaurus. This amazing ceratopsian had the biggest skull of any animal that has ever lived on land. It measured up to 8 feet, 2.5 meters, long. Torosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 25 feet, 7.5 meters. Skin-covered holes. The neck frills of ceratopsians had big holes in them. otherwise they would have been too heavy to carry around. Pachyrhinosaurus skull. Styracosaurus skull. Did you know? Even a mighty tyrannosaur couldn't always win a battle with a huge horned ceratopsian. Triceratops. Triceratops is the most famous of the ceratopsians, or horned dinosaurs. It had 3 sharp horns on its head, and its name means 3-horned face. Triceratops skull. This dinosaur's neck frill was made of solid bone. The horns on top of its head were up to 1 meter long, but the nose horn was smaller. Frill. Horn. Hole for eye. Nose horn. Nostril. Strong body. Triceratops had a big chunky body, short tail, and thick legs. It weighed about 11 tons, 10 tons, and was strong enough to fight off even fierce hunters, such as tyrannosaurs. Some adult Triceratops fight off a tyrannosaur. Protecting the weak. Triceratops lived in a group, or herd, of animals. Young animals stayed in the center of the group where they were safe from attackers. Plant eater. Triceratops looked very fierce, but like other ceratopsians it ate only plants. It bit off mouthfuls of leaves with its sharp beak. Big battles. Triceratops probably fought over mates or who would lead the herd. They crashed their heads together and locked horns. Triceratops facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Pachycephalosaurs. These creatures are often called boneheads or bone-headed dinosaurs. This is because they had a thick lump of bone on the head. Stygimoloch. This is the only pachycephalosaur that had spikes on its head. These measured up to 6 inches, 15 centimeters, long. Experts think that maybe only male Stygimoloch dinosaurs had spikes. Stygimoloch had a lot of lumps and bumps on its head. Stygimoloch facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Prenocephal. Prenocephal may have had a big head, but there was only a tiny brain inside. The bony dome was ringed with little spikes and lumps of bone. Prenocephal facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Pachycephalosaurus. This dinosaur was the largest of the boneheads. The bony dome on top of its head was an amazing 10 inches, 25 centimeters, thick. Pachycephalosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 15 feet, 4.6 meters. Built for speed. Pachycephalosaurs were probably fast movers. They stood upright and raced around on their long back legs. Stones. Pachycephalosaurs probably swallowed stones to help crush food in the stomach. Stegosaurs. These dinosaurs may have charged head-on and crashed their bony heads together when fighting for mates or leadership of the herd. They may also have butted each other in the side. Long legs, long tail. Stegosaurus moved about on its 2 long back legs. It had a long tail, too, which it held straight out behind it. It had 5 fingers on each hand and 5 toes on its feet. 2 adult Stegosaurus fight to decide which of them will lead the herd. Stegosaurus skull. The skull was up to 2.5 inches, 6 centimeters, thick over the brain area. At the back of the skull was a ridge that was covered with knobs and lumps. Skull ridge. Head domes. A young Stegosaurus dinosaur had a fairly flat head. The high bony dome grew bigger and bigger as the dinosaur grew up. Sharp teeth. Stegosaurus had a lot of small sharp teeth for cutting up tough plants. It may also have eaten some insects or other small creatures. Hand-to-mouth feeding. Stegosaurus probably grabbed or dug up plants with its strong hands and fingers and pulled them toward its mouth. Stegosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 6.5 feet, 2 meters. Duckbills and other dinosaurs. Many new kinds of plant-eating dinosaurs, such as duckbills and iguanodonts, appeared in the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. All had a bony beak for biting into plants and strong teeth for chewing. Ornithopods, the bird-feet dinosaurs. These dinosaurs are called bird-feet dinosaurs because they walked upright and on tiptoe like birds. There were many different kinds of ornithopods all over the world. Different teeth dinosaurs. These dinosaurs were also called heterodontosaurs. They had 3 kinds of teeth shaped for cutting, chewing, and stabbing. Parksasaurus, Edmontosaurus, Parasaurolophus. Different sizes. The smallest ornithopods were only about 6.5 feet, 2 meters, long. The biggest were 33 to 36 feet, 10 to 20 meters, long. Iguanodon 33 feet, 10 meters, long. Hypsilophodon 8 feet, 2.4 meters, long. High ridge teeth dinosaurs. These dinosaurs were also called hypsilophodonts. Parksasaurus was an hypsilophodont. Duck-billed dinosaurs. These dinosaurs are known as duckbills because of their beaks, which looked like a duck's beak. They are also called hadrosaurs, which means big lizards. Edmontosaurus and Parasaurolophus were duckbills. Beaks. Ornithopod dinosaurs had bony beaks at the front of their jaws. These were covered with a hard material called horn. They were just right for biting off mouthfuls of plants. Edmontosaurus. Hypsilophodon. Iguanodonts. The name of this group of dinosaurs means iguana teeth. They got this name because people thought their teeth looked like those of iguana lizards. Iguanodon is the best known iguanodont. Did you know? Many ornithopods lived in big groups, called herds, made up of thousands of animals. Heterodontosaurs. These dinosaurs were the first of the ornithopods. They appeared about 200 million years ago and were all small plant eaters that walked upright on 2 legs. Heterodontosaurus. Like most heterodontosaurs, this dinosaur had short arms and long, slender back legs. It was probably a fast runner. Possibly only males had the big tusk-like teeth. The strong tail was held straight out and off the ground. Heterodontosaurus facts. Lived, 205 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 4 feet, 1.2 meters. Atbrictosaurus. This dinosaur had no long tusk-like teeth. It may have been a female Heterodontosaurus and not a separate species. Atbrictosaurus facts. Lived, 205 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 4 feet, 1.2 meters. Pisanosaurus. Pisanosaurus was one of the first heterodontosaurs and one of the earliest dinosaurs. Only some of its bones have been found, not a whole skeleton. Pisanosaurus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, South America. Length, 3 feet, 90 centimeters. 3 types of teeth. At the front of the mouth, behind the beak, were small, sharp teeth for biting. Then came 2 pairs of tusk-like teeth. At the back of the mouth were a lot of wider teeth for chewing food. Dinosaurs with cheek pouches. As a heterodontosaur chewed, the food collected in its fleshy cheek pouches. The dinosaur then used its tongue to move the food back to its jaws. Lesothosaurus. Lesothosaurus belonged to a small group of dinosaurs called fabrosaurs. It was a plant eater and had sharp pointed front teeth as well as bigger teeth for chewing. Summer sleep. 2 Lesothosaurus skeletons were found curled up together in a burrow. Experts think they may have crept in there to sleep through the hot summer months. Small but swift. This dinosaur had long back legs and was probably a fast runner. Its arms were short and it had 5 fingers on each hand, which it could use for grabbing and digging for food. Low feeder. Lesothosaurus couldn't reach up very high, so it would have fed on low-growing plants. It may also have dug up plant roots with its hands. A group of Lesothosaurus dinosaurs stopped to feed. Lesothosaurus skeleton. The body and legs of this dinosaur look like those of a meat-eating dinosaur. But its head, bony beak, and chewing teeth show that it was a plant eater. Bony beak. Grasping hands. Long legs. Dog-sized dinosaur. Lesothosaurus probably lived in groups. The dinosaurs ran across the hot, dry plains of Africa, searching for food. A full-grown adult was about the size of a dog. Lesothosaurus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, South Africa. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Hypsilophodonts 1. These dinosaurs lived like antelopes and deer today. They moved around in herds, feeding on low-growing plants. Hypsilophodon. Hypsilophodon had a lot of ridged teeth, and cheek pouches for holding partly chewed food. Hypsilophodon facts. Lived, 120 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America. Length, 8 feet, 2.4 meters. Horsetails. Hypsilophodon ate these plants. They first grew more than 400 million years ago and still grow today. Falgurotherium. This dinosaur lived very far south. It may have moved north in winter to escape the icy weather. Falgurotherium facts. Lived, 130 million years ago. Found, Australia. Length, 6.5 feet, 2 meters. Thistleosaurus. This was one of the last of the hypsilophodonts. It lived right at the end of the age of reptiles. Thistleosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Built for speed. Hypsilophodonts were fast movers. They could probably run at up to 25 miles, 40 kilometers, per hour for a short time. Did you know? The biggest hypsilophodont was about 13 feet, 4 meters, long. Hypsilophodonts 2. These dinosaurs get their name from their strange-shaped teeth. The teeth had ridges on them, which helped break down food as the animal chewed. Cows also chew like this. Dryosaurus. Like other hypsilophodonts, Dryosaurus probably lived in herds. They may have traveled long distances to find plants to eat. Dryosaurus had 5 fingers on each hand. Dryosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Africa, North America. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Agilosaurus. Experts aren't sure if this dinosaur is a hypsilophodont or one of a new family of dinosaurs. Agilosaurus facts. Lived, 165 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Parksosaurus. This was one of the last of the hypsilophodonts. Its tail was strong and stiff and the dinosaur held its tail straight out behind to help keep its balance as it ran. Parksosaurus facts. Lived, 65 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 8 feet, 2.4 meters. A diet of plants. A hypsilophodont bit off leaves with the bony beak at the front of its mouth. Did you know? Experts once thought that hypsilophodonts could climb trees. But now they think the dinosaurs lived on the ground. Lielenosaura. This dinosaur lived in what is now Australia. At that time Australia was farther south and was joined to Antarctica. It was icy cold and dark in the winter. Seeing in the dark. Lielenosaura's large eyes probably helped it see well in the dark. This was very useful in the dark winter months. Asleep in winter. This dinosaur may have hibernated for some of the winter. This meant that its body slowed right down as it slept to save energy. It woke up when warmer spring days arrived. Built for speed. Lielenosaur was about the size of a large turkey. It had long legs and could probably run fast. It fed on any plants it could find and may have dug up plant roots to nibble on. Lielenosaur dinosaurs may have lived in herds. Warm-blooded dinosaur? Most dinosaurs were cold-blooded, so they had to stay in the sun to warm up. But Lielenosaurum may have been warm-blooded, so it could survive in its cold home. Lielenosaura facts. Lived, 105 million years ago. Found, Australia. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Iguanodonts 1. These dinosaurs lived like cows and deer do today. They moved around in herds and spent most of their time feeding on large amounts of plant material. Camptosaurus. Like other iguanodonts, this dinosaur had strong teeth behind its sharp beak. It could even chew tough conifer needles. Camptosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Muttaburrasaurus. This dinosaur looked very like Iguanodon, but it had a small lump of bone on its nose. Also, its teeth were shaped for cutting through plants rather than grinding them into pieces. Muttaburrasaurus fax. Lived, 110 million years ago. Found, Australia. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Uranosaurus. Uranosaurus had a row of spines along its back. The spines were covered with skin. This sail might have been brightly colored to scare off meat-eating dinosaurs. Uranosaurus fax. Lived, 110 million years ago. Found, Africa. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Conifer forest. Conifer trees grew before flowering plants and their needle-like leaves were an important food for dinosaurs. Iguanodonts too. Later species of this type of dinosaur were different from the first iguanodonts in several ways. For example, they had stronger backs, more teeth, and 3 toes instead of 4. Probactrosaurus. Probactrosaurus had a long, narrow head and a lot of broad teeth for chewing. If teeth wore down and fell out, new ones grew to replace them. Probactrosaurus fax. Lived, 100 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Tenontosaurus. This big plant eater looked very like Iguanodon. The teeth of a meat-eating Deinonychus have been found with the bones of Tenontosaurus, so it may have been the victim of predator attacks. The tail was held very straight and didn't move around much. Tenontosaurus fax. Lived, 115 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 23 feet, 7 meters. Stiff backs and tails. An iguanodont's back and tail were very stiff. This was because they were strengthened with a lot of thin pieces of bone, which locked the bones of the spine together. Did you know? Iguanodonts may have been able to stand on their back legs to reach food higher up. Iguanodon. This was only the second dinosaur ever to be named. It was called Iguanodon, which means iguana teeth, because its teeth looked like those of the iguana lizard. Horse head. Iguanodon was a big animal with a long stiff tail. It had a long head like a horse and its jaws were filled with a lot of sharp teeth. 2 legs or 4. This dinosaur could walk upright on its 2 back legs or on all 4s. It could run at speeds of up to 2.5 miles, 20 kilometers, per hour. Spiked thumb. Iguanodon had 4 clawed fingers and a big spiky thumb. It could bend its little finger across its hand to help it hold onto things, such as twigs and leaves. Ground to a pulp. Using the strong beak at the front of its mouth, Iguanodon bit off leaves and twigs to eat. It chewed its food for a long time until it was just a mushy pulp. Using the thumb. Iguanodon could have used its thumb spike like a dagger to defend itself from meat-eating dinosaurs. Iguanodon fax. Lived, 130 million years ago. Found, Asia, Europe, North America. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Hadrosaurs 1. These dinosaurs are also called duckbills because they have a beak like a duck. They were one of the last types of dinosaur and lived until the end of the age of the reptiles. Saurolophus. This hadrosaur had a long bony spike on the back of its head. This may have been covered with a flap of skin, making a bag that made the dinosaur's honking calls louder. Saurolophus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia, North America. Length, 40 feet, 12 meters. Hadrosaurus. A skeleton of this dinosaur was found in the United States in 1857. It was the first nearly complete dinosaur skeleton ever found. Hadrosaurus fax. Lived, 75 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Lambiosaurus. Both male and female Lambiosaurus had bony crests on their heads. The males also had a spike of solid bone behind the crest. The head crest may have made the dinosaur's calls louder. Lambiosaurus fax. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Wide duck-like mouths. It's easy to see why these dinosaurs are called duckbills. The beak at the front of the mouth was wide and flat. It was covered with a hard material called horn. Hadrosaurs 2. These dinosaurs probably spent most of their time on all fours, as they moved around feeding on plants. But they could rear up on their strong back legs to run away from predators. Cintosaurus. This big Chinese hadrosaur had a spiky head crest. The spike was as much as 3 feet, 1 meter, long. Cintosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Parasaurolophus. This was one of the largest hadrosaurs. Like the others, it fed on a mixture of tough twigs and pine needles and softer leaves. Parasaurolophus facts. Lived, 75 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Corythosaurus. This dinosaur lived around swamps at the edge of forests. It may have been able to wade through water or even swim. Corythosaurus facts. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Loud calls. The head crests were hollow inside. They may have acted like echo chambers to make the dinosaur's calls louder. Crest linked to nose. Did you know? A hadrosaur had as many as 1,600 teeth packed tightly in its jaws. Maiasaura. Nests and some fossilized eggs belonging to this dinosaur have been found, so we know a lot about its nesting habits. The dinosaur's name means good mother lizard. Safety in numbers. These big plant eaters lived in large herds of as many as 10,000 animals. They probably made their nests in groups, too. Good mothers. Maiasaurum mothers stayed near their eggs to protect them from predators. When the young hatched, their mothers brought them food until they were big enough to leave the nest. Maiasaura nest. The nest was a hollow in the ground and measured about 6.5 feet, 2 meters, across. The mother dinosaur laid about 25 eggs, each about as big as a grapefruit. At the nest site, Maiasaura was too big to sit on its eggs. It covered them with plants to keep them warm. When the young hatched they were about 1 foot, 30 centimeters, long. A Maiasaura keeps an eye on its nest of eggs. Moving in herds. A Maiasaura herd had to keep on the move. Each animal needed to find as much as 200 pounds, 90 kilograms, of plants a day. Maiasaura facts. Lived, 80 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Life in the air. At the time when dinosaurs lived on land, other kinds of reptile flew in the sky. These flying reptiles were called pterosaurs. They were the first vertebrates, animals with backbones, to take to life in the air. Pterosaurs appeared just after the first dinosaurs, about 225 million years ago. Flying reptiles. There were many kinds of pterosaur. Some were as small as a blackbird today. The biggest was the size of a small plane and the largest flying creature that ever lived. Wings of skin. A pterosaur's wings were made of skin and strengthened by thin strips of muscle. The wing was attached along each side of the pterosaur's body. Phobetor. Sordis. Batrachognathus. Some pterosaurs had a lot of sharp teeth. Long fingers. The wings were supported by the bones of the arms, hands, and fingers. The top of the wing was attached to the very long fourth finger. Wrist bone. Fingers 1 to 3. Fourth finger. Wrist. Lower arm. Upper arm. Different foods. Pterosaurs fed in different ways. Some flew over the sea, scooping fish from the water. Others snapped up insects in the air or hunted over land. Soar or dart. Some pterosaurs could glide for long distances, like sea birds today. Others had shorter wings and could twist and turn as they hunted prey. Wing muscles. Pterosaurs had to have strong muscles to move their wings up and down with. Upbeat. Upper shoulder pulls wing up. Downbeat. Chest muscle pulls wing down. Did you know? The name pterosaur means winged lizard. Triassic pterosaurs. There were 2 types of pterosaurs. The Rhamphorhynchus came first. Later came the pterodactyls. All the pterosaurs on this page were Rhamphorhynchus, with long tails and short necks. Pitinosaurus. This was one of the earliest pterosaurs and was about the same size as a pigeon. It probably caught insects, such as dragonflies. Dinosaurus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Preindactylus. This pterosaur was about the size of a blackbird. It had long, narrow jaws lined with a lot of sharp teeth and probably fed on fish as well as insects. Preindactylus had a long tail tipped with a flap of skin. Preindactylus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 18 inches, 45 centimeters. Where did pterosaurs come from? Pterosaurs may be related to gliding lizards similar to Chaerovipteryx, above, which lived in Asia. Pterosaurs and birds. A pterosaur's wings were made of skin and supported by its finger bones. A bird's wings are supported by the arm bones and covered with feathers. Bird's wing. Pterosaur's wing. Did you know? Pterosaurs were flying in the skies 75 million years before birds. The two groups come from different ancestors. Eudimorphodon. Like all the early pterosaurs, this pterosaur was a rhomphorhynchus. It had two types of teeth, sharp fangs at the front of the jaws and smaller pointed teeth farther back. Diving for fish. Eudimorphodon may have caught its food by diving into the water. It grabbed its fishy prey and then came back to the surface. Fish for supper. This pterosaur may also have flown low over the water looking for food. It then swooped down and seized its prey. Its sharp teeth were just right for holding onto slippery fish. Fine flyer. Eudimorphodon was probably a good flyer with its long wings. Between flights, it could cling onto a cliff ledge or a tree, using the strong claws on the top of each wing. Eudimorphodon measured 28 inches, 70 centimeters, from its beak to the tip of its tail. Eudimorphodon skull. Large holes in this pterosaur's skull made it lighter. This was important for a flying creature. It had 58 teeth in its top jaw and 56 in the lower jaw. Holes in skull. Eye socket. Nostril. Did you know? Fossils of this pterosaur have been found with fish scales in the stomach area. Eudimorphodon facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 3 feet, 1 meter. Jurassic pterosaurs of Europe. In the Jurassic period, pterosaurs began to get bigger and change in shape. They became more like the later pterodactyls. Dorognathus. This pterosaur had amazing teeth. They jutted out of its mouth to make a kind of spiky cage for trapping fish. This pterosaur's name means spear jaw. Dorognathus facts. Lived, 190 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 3 feet, 1 meter. Scaphinethus. This pterosaur had a short head and rounded nose. Its teeth were long and sharp. There were about 18 in the top jaw and 10 in the lower jaw. Scaphinethus was one of the first fossil pterosaurs ever found. Scaphinethus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 3 feet, 90 centimeters. Pterosaur heads. The first rhomphorhynchus had a short head, stubby neck and a lot of teeth. The later pterodactyls had a long neck and beak and few or no teeth. Rhomphorhynchus. Pterodactyl. And tails. Rhomphorhynchus had a long, thin bony tail that was stiff except at the base. Most were tipped with a flap of skin. Pterodactyls had a much shorter tail, made of just a few bones. Rhomphorhynchus. Pterodactyl. Dimorphodon. Dimorphodon lived about 205 million years ago in England. It belonged to the Rhomphorhynchus group and had a long tail, big head and sharp teeth. Toothy hunter. Dimorphodon probably hunted fish, insects, lizards, worms, and other small creatures. It had two kinds of teeth. There were large peg-like teeth at the front of its jaws and smaller, sharp teeth behind them. Take off. Dimorphodon had strong claws on its wings. It probably couldn't take off from the ground, but its claws helped it climb onto rocks or trees, where it could jump off into the air. The walking pterosaur. Dimorphodon could stand up with its legs under its body and walk upright. Or it could use the claws on its wings as front feet and scurry along on all fours. A smooth flyer. Wide wings and a long trailing tail helped this pterosaur glide smoothly through the air. Strong legs. Dimorphodon had very strong, well-developed legs, unlike most pterosaurs. Did you know? Dimorphodon's beak may have been brightly colored, just like a hornbill or puffin's beak today. Dimorphodon facts. Lived 205 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 4.5 feet, 1.4 meters. The pterodactyls arrive. The pterodactyls were the second group of pterosaurs. They first appeared in the late Jurassic period and lived until the end of the Cretaceous period. Germanodactylus. An early pterodactyl, Germanodactylus had a longer beak and fewer teeth than the Rhamphorhynchus pterosaurs. The strong wing claws were used for climbing and holding on. Germanodactylus facts. Lived 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 4.5 feet, 1.35 meters. Galodactylus. This pterosaur had a crest on the back of its head instead of on its beak like earlier pterosaurs. It is possible that the crest may have helped it steer while in the air. Galodactylus had a long, narrow beak. Galodactylus facts. Lived 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 3 feet, 1 meter. Hollow bones. Flying animals need to be light. Many of a pterosaur's bones were hollow inside. They were crisscrossed with little bony rods to make them stronger. Bony rods. Furry bodies. Fossils show that a pterosaur's head and body may have been covered with short hair. There would have been no hair on the wings or tail. Did you know? Pterodactyls may have slept hanging upside down from branches, like bats do today. Unusual Jurassic pterosaurs. There were still a few kinds of Rhamphorhynchus around in the Jurassic period, living alongside the pterodactyls. Two of the most unusual were Oneronathus and Sordis. Sordis. The name of this pterosaur means hairy devil. Fossils show that it had a thick coat of long fur on its head and body, and even some thinner hair on its wings. Sordis facts. Lived 150 million years ago. Found, Asia. Wingspan, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Oneronathus. This little pterosaur was a Rhamphorhynchus, but it had a short tail like a pterodactyl. It had small sharp teeth and may have snapped up insects in the air like swifts do today. Oneronathus's body was only as wide as a human finger. Oneronathus facts. Lived 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 20 inches, 50 centimeters. Taking off. To take off from a cliff ledge, a pterosaur probably pushed with its hands and feet to launch itself into the air. Then it opened its wings to stop itself from falling further and began to fly. Crest of a wave. Sometimes pterosaurs had to take off from the water. They may have leaped into air from the crest of a wave, or pushed off with their feet. Pterodactylus. There were several different kinds of Pterodactylus, which lived from about 160 to 145 million years ago. Fossils have been found in parts of Europe and in Africa. Many sizes. Some kinds of Pterodactylus were the size of a blackbird. Other were giants with a wingspan of 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Long, narrow wings helped Pterodactylus glide long distances. Beaks and teeth. Some kinds of Pterodactylus had evenly spaced teeth. Others had more teeth at the front of the beak and none at the back. In the air and at rest. Pterodactylus had very long, narrow wings and could probably fly well. It may have rested hanging upside down from its claws on tree branches. Creature features. Pterodactylus had a short tail and a long neck. There were big holes in its skull bones, making the skull very light. Feeding young. Young Pterodactylus could fly. But they may not have been able to catch food. A parent may have regurgitated, or brought up, food for its young. Pterodactylus facts. Lived 160 to 145 million years ago. Found, Europe and Africa. Wingspan, up to 8 feet, 2.5 meters. Early Cretaceous pterosaurs. By the Cretaceous period, there were no rhomphorhynchus pterosaurs left. But there were many kinds of pterodactyls and they were spreading all over the world. Ornithodesmus. This was one of the first really big pterosaurs. It had an unusual spoon-shaped beak and a lot of short sharp teeth. These were ideal for spiking and trapping fish. Ornithodesmus facts. Lived, 130 million years ago. Found, Europe. Wingspan, 16.5 feet, 5 meters. Onhonguera. Onhonguera had a flexible neck to grab food from the surface of the water with, but it had small, weak legs that would have made walking difficult. Onhonguera facts. Lived, 120 million years ago. Found, South America. Wingspan, 13 feet, 4 meters. Beaks and food. Long thin teeth were used to grab fish or other small prey. A beak with a pointed tip was just right for digging worms from the seabed. A comb-like fringe of teeth made a perfect strainer for filtering food. Gnathosaurus. Disungaripterus. Sierradactylus. Pterodostro. Where did pterosaurs live? Many pterosaurs fed on fish and probably lived near water. Fossils have been found near seas, lakes, rivers, and swamps. Some may also have lived in forests, or even in deserts, but we don't know for sure. Cretaceous specialized feeders. Many pterosaurs fed on fish. But some kinds of pterosaur had special beaks for feeding on other sea creatures, such as shellfish, worms, and shrimp. Pterodostro. This pterosaur had a fringe of thin teeth like the bristles of a brush on its lower jaw. With these, it could sweep tiny shrimp and other food from the water. Pterodostro is nicknamed the flamingo pterosaur. Pterodostro facts. Lived, 140 million years ago. Found, South America. Wingspan, 4¼ feet, 1.3 meters. Disungaripterus. This large pterosaur had a beak like a pair of tongs. It could have poked the pointed tips into sand or cracks in the rocks and pulled out food, such as worms and shellfish. Disungaripterus facts. Lived, 145 million years ago. Found, Asia. Wingspan, 10 feet, 3 meters. Pterosaur nurseries. Pterosaurs probably laid eggs, and they may have nested in groups. The parents could have left their young together on the cliff tops while they went to find food for them. Did you know? There were about 1,000 closely packed bristly teeth in Pterodostro's lower jaw. More pterosaurs. Pterosaurs had to fly to find food, so their wings were very important. They probably took great care of their wings, folding them away when resting. They kept them clean, too, picking out any dirt with their claws or teeth. Tropeognathus. Tropeognathus had a crest on the top and bottom of its beak. It may have used these to steady its beak when feeding in water, or showed them off to attract mates at breeding time. Tropeognathus facts. Lived, 120 million years ago. Found, South America. Wingspan, 20 feet, 6 meters. Pteranodon. Pteranodon had very long wings. From tip to tip, they measured more than 4 grown-up people lying head to toe. Pteranodon had huge wings but weighed only 40 pounds, 18 kilograms. Pteranodon facts. Lived, 85 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America, Asia. Wingspan, 26 feet, 8 meters. First pterosaur fossil. This was found in Germany in 1784. Experts decided it was the fossil of a flying reptile and named it pterodactyl, which means wing finger. Pterosaur head crests. Crests may have been brightly colored to help pterosaurs attract mates. They may also have helped keep the animal steady in the air. Pteranodon in gens. Germanodactylus. Tapahara. Sea cliffs. Pterosaurs, such as Pteranodon, probably took off into the air from high sea cliffs. Quetzalcoatlus. This amazing pterosaur was probably the biggest flying creature that has ever lived. It was as big as a small plane. Its wings measured at least 36 feet, 11 meters, from tip to tip. Were pterosaurs noisy? We don't know if pterosaurs made loud squawking noises like seagulls do today. Perhaps they could make clacking sounds with their big beaks and clap their large wings. Biggest ever flyer. This pterosaur's head measured more than 6.5 feet, 2 meters, and its long neck was over 10 feet, 3 meters, long. Fuzzy fur. Quetzalcoatlus means feathered serpent, but as far as we know the pterosaur did not have feathers. Its body may have been covered with fuzzy fur or hair-like scales. Quetzalcoatlus probably had excellent eyesight. The pterosaur vulture? This flying giant may have fed like vultures do today. As it flew over land, it looked out for dead or dying animals. If it saw something, the pterosaur landed and fed on the creature with its sharp beak. Strong beak. Quetzalcoatlus may have searched rivers and lakes for food and chopped up crabs and other shellfish with its strong beak. Quetzalcoatlus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Wingspan, 36 feet, 11 meters. The teeming seas. No dinosaurs lived in the sea, although some of them may have been able to splash their way across a lake or river. But the seas were full of other creatures, such as fish and shellfish. There were also several kinds of large sea-living reptiles, including plesiosaurs, pliosaurs, and ichthyosaurs. Oceans in the age of dinosaurs. Large, swimming reptiles ruled the seas during the age of the dinosaurs. All were hunters, and chased fish and other sea creatures to eat. Other sea creatures. All these creatures lived alongside sea-living reptiles. Ammonites were common but are now extinct. Jellyfish. Squid. Ammonite. Horseshoe crab. Ocean reptiles. Ichthyosaurs, pliosaurs, and plesiosaurs became extinct at the same time as the dinosaurs. They died out forever. But other reptiles, such as turtles, still live in our seas. Turtle. Archelon. Ichthyosaur. Plesiosaur. Pliosaur. Taking a breath. Sea-living reptiles did not have gills like fish. So they had to come to the surface regularly to breathe. Seafood. There had been fish living in the sea for 300 million years before the dinosaurs appeared. Sharks had already been the top predators in the sea for 200 million years. Flippers to paddle. These swimming reptiles had bodies shaped to speed easily through the water. And they had flippers instead of legs. Did you know? Ichthyosaurs probably gave birth to live young in the water instead of laying eggs like land reptiles. Nothosaurs. Nothosaurs were the first big sea-living reptiles. They had webbed feet instead of flippers and may have spent some of their time on land. Lariosaurus. This reptile's feet were better for walking than swimming. It may have done some hunting on the seashore. Lariosaurus facts. Lived, 225 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Ceresiasaurus. This nothosaur had very long toes on its feet. It probably swam by moving its long body and tail from side to side and making rowing movements with its front feet. Ceresiasaurus facts. Lived, 225 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Pistosaurus. Pistosaurus's legs were like flippers. It probably used these to push itself through the water. Pistosaurus facts. Lived, 225 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Nothosaurus. Like other nothosaurs, this reptile had a lot of big, sharp teeth. They fitted together to make a spiky cage for trapping prey, such as fish. Nothosaurus facts. Lived, 225 million years ago. Found, Asia, Europe, North Africa. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Part-time land lovers. Nothosaurs may have spent time lying on rocks in the sun, just like seals and sea lions do today. Plesiosaurs. These sea-living reptiles first lived about 200 million years ago. They had small heads and long necks. They fed mostly on fish and other small sea creatures. Plesiosaurus. This was one of the first plesiosaurs. Like other plesiosaurs, it probably flew through the water by flapping its long flippers up and down, like turtles do today. Long, curved flippers gave this dinosaur swimming power. Plesiosaurus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 8¼ feet, 2.5 meters. Cryptoclydus. Cryptoclydus had many smaller joints in its flippers. This gave the flipper a smoother and more flexible curved surface. Cryptoclydus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 13 feet, 4 meters. Marinosaurus. Half the length of this huge creature was its neck, and its head was very tiny. It probably swung its neck and it snapped up mouthfuls of food. Marinosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Caught in a cage. A plesiosaur's toothy jaws made a trap for prey. When the reptile opened its mouth, water and fish flowed in. When it closed its mouth, the fish were trapped inside. Elasmosaurus. Elasmosaurus was the longest of the plesiosaurs and more than half its length was made up of its huge neck. It was also one of the last of the plesiosaurs. More bones. Most reptiles have between 5 and 10 vertebrae in their neck. But Elasmosaurus had more than 70, making its long neck very bendy. The long neck could be twisted and turned very quickly. Eyes on top. Elasmosaurus's eyes were on top of its head. It could see fish swimming above it and reach up to catch them. Plesiosaur skull. Elasmosaurus had a long, low head. Its pointed nose helped it cut through the water and its long teeth made a perfect trap for fishy prey. Could they survive? Scientists think that plesiosaurs died out with the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. But some people believe they may still be living in deep lakes today. Fast predator. Elasmosaurus probably ate small prey, such as fish, squid, and ammonites. It could move its long neck very swiftly to reach and catch its prey. Elasmosaurus held its long neck straight out in front of its body. Did you know? Elasmosaurus's huge neck measured an amazing 26 feet, 8 meters. That's as long as 4 tall men lying in a line. Elasmosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Asia, North America. Length, 46 feet, 14 meters. Pliosaurs. These reptiles were close relatives of the plesiosaurs. They had short necks and large heads and they were very fierce hunters. Macroploda. This early pliosaur had a long neck, like a plesiosaur. But unlike plesiosaurs, its rear flippers were larger than the front ones. Macroploda had a large, long head with rows of teeth like a crocodile. Macroploda facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 16½ feet, 5 meters. Pelwanoistis. Pelwanoistis had strong cone-shaped teeth. Its jaws were strong, so it could bite and hold onto prey, such as large fish and squid and even plesiosaurs. Pelwanoistis facts. Lived, 145 million years ago. Found, Asia, Europe. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Kronosaurus. This pliosaur was a fierce hunter. It had a huge head that measured 9 feet, 2.7 meters, long and a lot of big sharp teeth. It could move quickly by flapping its long flippers. Kronosaurus facts. Lived, 140 million years ago. Found, Australia. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Taking a breath. A pliosaur's nostrils were on the top of its head. This meant it could easily poke its head above the surface to breathe. Lioplorodon. This huge pliosaur was probably the biggest meat-eating animal that has ever lived. It was bigger than any of the meat-eating dinosaurs who lived on land. Water support. One reason that Lioplorodon could grow so big is that it lived in the sea. This meant that its great weight was supported by the water. Most massive ever? Lioplorodon was up to 80 feet, 25 meters, long and could have weighed over 80 tons, 75 tons, or even more than 165 tons, 150 tons. It might have been bigger than the largest animal on Earth today, the blue whale. Skeleton, skull, and teeth. Lioplorodon's skull was up to 16½ feet, 5 meters, long, longer than the whole body of many dinosaurs. It had teeth like daggers. Good sense of smell. Lioploridon could smell the different scents of its prey in the water. If the smell was stronger in one nostril than in the other, it would follow that trail. Top predator. This huge reptile hunted anything that moved. Most fish were only a light snack, so it preyed on other large reptiles, such as ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs. An ichthyosaur tries to escape Lioploridon's massive jaws. Lioploridon facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe, South America. Length, 80 feet, 25 meters. Rise of the ichthyosaurs. The ichthyosaurs, unlike plesiosaurs and pliosaurs, could not move on land. They lived their whole lives in water. Shonosaurus. Huge Shonosaurus had a rounded body and 4 paddle-like flippers. All 4 were about the same size. Shonosaurus had a longer body than Tyrannosaurus. Shonosaurus facts. Lived, 210 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 50 feet, 15 meters. Ophthalmosaurus. The long, beak-like jaws of this ichthyosaur were more than 3 feet, 1 meter, long, ideal for seizing fast-swimming prey. Ophthalmosaurus facts. Lived, 150 million years ago. Found, Europe, North and South America. Length, 15 feet, 4.5 meters. Mixosaurus. Fossils of this early ichthyosaur have been found in many parts of the world. It had fleshy flaps on the top and bottom of its tail. Mixosaurus facts. Lived, 220 million years ago. Found, Asia, Europe, North America. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Ichthyosaur skeleton. The skeleton shows that an ichthyosaur was a reptile, not a fish. It had arm and leg bones in its flippers and bones in its tail. Fish do not. Ichthyosaurus. A lot of fossils of this reptile have been found, so it is one of the best known of all prehistoric animals. This species lived for more than 60 million years. Fossil food. Ichthyosaurus ate fish, squid, and curly shell ammonites. Fossils of all these creatures have been found with ichthyosaur remains. Ichthyosaurus could crack an ammonite's hard shell with its strong jaws. Super senses. Ichthyosaurus's big eyes helped it see in the darkness of the deep ocean. It could also sense ripples in the water, made by moving prey, with its ears. Big eyes for hunting. Skeletons show that ichthyosaurs had very big eyes. A species called Ophthalmosaurus had the largest. They were 4 inches, 10 centimeters, across. Fine fossils. Some of the ichthyosaur fossils that have been found are in very good condition. They have many bones arranged next to each other, as they would have been when the animal was alive. How deep? We don't know how deep Ichthyosaurus could dive to find prey. Relatives of the type of squid it ate live in very deep sea today, down to 3,300 feet, 1,000 meters. Eggs or babies? Ichthyosaurus could not go on land to lay eggs. It gave birth to its young in the water, like dolphins do today. Ichthyosaurus facts. Lived, 200 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America. Length, 6 feet, 1.8 meters. Mosasaurs. These reptiles were huge sea-living lizards. They lived at the same time as the dinosaurs and died out 65 million years ago. Globidins. This mosasaur had different teeth from its relatives. They were about the same size and shape as golf balls and just right for crushing shellfish such as crabs. Globidins facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 20 feet, 6 meters. Tylosaurus. Like most mosasaurs, Tylosaurus had 4 paddle-like flippers and a huge mouth with a lot of sharp teeth. It had a long tail edged with flaps top and bottom. Tylosaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 30 feet, 9 meters. Cladostase. Cladostase was small for a mosasaur but still as big as most sharks today. It may have hunted near the shore, leaving the giant mosasaurs to the open ocean. Cladostase facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 11.5 feet, 3.5 meters. Plate carpus. Plate carpus, like other mosasaurs, ate ammonites and other hard-shelled creatures. Many ammonite shells with mosasaur tooth marks have been found. Plate carpus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America. Length, 14 feet, 4.2 meters. Mosasaur mother. Mosasaurs gave birth to their young in the sea and may have looked after the young until they were big enough to find their own food. Mosasaurus. This huge creature was a fierce hunter, even more powerful than the biggest sharks today. It could catch almost anything in the sea, even giant turtles. Feather food. This early kind of bird, called Hesperornis, would have made a tasty snack for a mosasaur. The bird stood about as tall as a person. It could not fly, but it could paddle along with its big webbed feet. Origins. The ancestors of mosasaurs were probably big meat-eating lizards. These lizards began living in the sea and their legs gradually became paddle-like flippers. What's in a name? Mosasaurs are named after an area in the Netherlands called the Meuse. Their name means Meuse lizards. Huge fossil jaws and teeth from a mosasaur were dug up there in the 1770s. When mosasaurs died out, sharks, such as this one, were to take over the seas. Swimming tail. This reptile's flippers were small and weak. It probably swam by moving its long body and tail from side to side like a huge snake. Mosasaur skeleton. The skeleton of a mosasaur shows that it had arm and leg bones like a lizard. It also had a bendy lower jaw like monitor lizards of today. Mosasaurus facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, Europe, North America. Length, 33 feet, 10 meters. Turtles and placodonts. The first turtles probably lived on land, like tortoises. But some started to live in the water and developed flippers instead of legs. Protostega. This turtle had a beak-like mouth but no teeth. It could crush shellfish and jellyfish in its strong jaws. Protostega facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 10 feet, 3 meters. Placocheles. Placocheles looked like a turtle but it belonged to another group of reptiles called placodonts. They lived at the same time as nothosaurs. Placocheles facts. Lived, 210 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 3 feet, 90 centimeters. Henodis. This reptile was also a placodont. Its square-shaped shell protected it from predators, such as sharks. Henodis facts. Lived, 210 million years ago. Found, Europe. Length, 3 feet, 1 meter. Holes in the shell. The shell of some turtles was not solid but made of pieces of bone covered with thick rubbery skin. This made the shell lighter, so the turtle could move quickly. Eggs on beaches. The first turtles laid their eggs on land, just like turtles today. They came out onto the beach and laid their eggs in holes in the sand. Sharks. These sea-living predators were around before the dinosaurs and are still the most feared hunters in the sea today. Sharks are fish, not reptiles. Cretoxyrina. Cretoxyrina was a top predator in the late Cretaceous seas. It would have attacked pliosaurs, crocodiles, and even mosasaurs. Its sleek shape made this fish a fast swimmer. Cretoxyrina facts. Lived, 70 million years ago. Found, North America. Length, 18 feet, 5.4 meters. Hybotus. This shark was a fast-moving hunter, like the sharks of today. It had sharp front teeth for seizing prey and broader back teeth for crushing their bones and shells. Hybotus facts. Lived, 245 to 65 million years ago. Found, worldwide. Length, 6.5 feet, 2 meters. Scapanorhynchus. This shark's jaws opened very wide so it could take big bites of its prey. No one knows why it had such a long, pointed nose. Scapanorhynchus facts. Lived, 100 million years ago. Found, worldwide. Length, 20 inches, 50 centimeters. Teeth. The teeth of ancient sharks were very like those of sharks today. They were very sharp with jagged edges, like a triangular steak knife, for cutting into their prey. Fossil tooth of Squalocorax, an ancient shark. Tooth of a modern-day tiger shark. Did you know? A shark's skeleton is made mainly of cartilage, gristle, not from bone. The world of the dinosaurs. No human being has ever seen a living, breathing dinosaur. But we still know a lot about these creatures that lived millions of years ago. Scientists can study fossilized bones and teeth. They compare them with those of living animals to work out how dinosaurs looked and how they lived. History of Earth. There were creatures living on the land 150 million years before the dinosaurs, and the first tiny life forms lived in the sea more than 2,000 million years ago. Eras and periods. Earth's history is divided into lengths of time called eras. The dinosaurs lived in the Mesozoic era. Each era is split into smaller lengths of time called periods. All numbers are millions of years ago. Paleozoic era. Ancient life. Silurian period, 438 to 408. Plants spread from water to land. Devonian period, 408 to 360. First amphibians walk on land. Carboniferous period, 360 to 286. Many amphibians, first reptiles. Permian period, 286 to 250. Mammal-like reptiles. Mesozoic era. Middle life. Triassic period, 250 to 206. Many reptiles, first dinosaurs. Jurassic period, 206 to 144. Dinosaurs reach their greatest size. Cretaceous period, 144 to 65. Last of the dinosaurs. Cenozoic era. Recent life. Tertiary period, 65 to 2. Rise of mammals and birds. Quaternary period. Pleistocene epoch, 2 to 0.01. Early humans spread. Holocene epoch, 0.01 to now. Most of recorded history. How time is divided. The eras and periods are worked out according to the way the rocks of the time formed and the fossils in those rocks. Early Earth. Earth was formed about 4,600 million years ago. At first, nothing could live on Earth, but life began about 3,000 million years ago. Moving continents. The world's land has slowly moved and split into the continents we know today. In the Triassic, all the land was in one mass known as Pangaea. The Triassic period. The earliest dinosaur fossils have been found in rocks dating from the middle of the Triassic period, about 230 million years ago. Plant life. The most common trees in the Triassic were conifers, ginkgos, and palm-like cycads. Smaller plants included ferns, mosses, and horsetails. There were huge deserts in the center of the land. Fewer trees could grow in the dry Triassic heat. Small rivers flowed during the rainy season. Triassic weather. The world's weather was very different in the Triassic. It was much warmer than it is now and there was less rain. This meant there were large areas of desert and dry scrubland. Triassic map. At this time, there was just one big land mass we call Pangaea. All around it was the Panthalassa Ocean. But the Tethys Sea was beginning to divide Pangaea in two. Panthalassa. Pangaea. Tethys Sea. Triassic animals. There were many kinds of reptiles as well as dinosaurs in the Triassic. These included mammal-like reptiles, crocodiles, and turtles. The first mammals had also appeared. Did you know? The world was so warm during the Triassic that there was no ice at the North and South Poles. The Jurassic period. At the start of the Jurassic period, about 200 million years ago, the world began to change again. The climate became cooler and more plants grew. Plant life. Plants began to grow in areas that had been deserts. The main trees were still conifers. Smaller plants included club mosses, ferns, and horsetails. Huge swamps and bogs developed in low-lying areas. More rain and less heat allowed large forests to grow. There were a lot of rivers and lakes and plenty of fish. Jurassic weather. The weather was warmer than today, but not as hot as it was during the Triassic. The climate was much the same all over the world, with long rainy seasons and short dry seasons. Jurassic map. Pangaea separated into two large areas of land. These were Gondwana in the south and Laurasia in the north. Laurasia. Tethys Sea. Gondwana. Jurassic animals. Dinosaurs became more and more common during the Jurassic, and there were a lot of smaller reptiles, too, such as lizards. There were insects, snails, and spiders, and the first birds appeared. Did you know? The world's continents are still moving, but only at the rate of a few inches a year. The Cretaceous period. During the Cretaceous period, the world became more like it is today. It started to be much colder at the poles and hotter near the equator. Plant life. Flowering plants, like those we know today, first appeared in this period. Trees, such as oak, magnolia, walnut, and maple, began to grow. Moving continents caused many mountains to appear. There was less rain, so fewer trees could grow in the forests. Fish and shellfish thrived in the rivers and shallow seas. Cretaceous weather. The seasons became more varied at this time. In the north and south, there were winters and summers. Near the equator, there were wet and dry seasons. Cretaceous map. Laurasia and Gondwana broke up into the continents we know today. The Americas drifted away from Europe and Africa, so the Atlantic Ocean became wider. North America. South America. Africa. Europe. Asia. India. Australia. Antarctica. Cretaceous animals. There were more kinds of dinosaur than ever, as well as other reptiles, such as snakes. Birds flew in the skies, along with flying reptiles called pterosaurs. There were some small mammals. Did you know? At least 1,000 different kinds of dinosaur have been discovered, and there may be many more. Dinosaur skeletons. Most of what we know about dinosaurs comes from studying their fossilized bones and teeth. Dinosaur posture. A dinosaur's legs were held straight down under its body. The legs of reptiles, such as lizards, stick out to the sides of the body. Hip bones. Dinosaurs can be divided into two groups, depending on the shape of their hip bones. Pointing backward, ornithischian. Pointing forward, saurischian. Hip joint socket. Ilium. Ischium. Pubis. Stegosaurus skeleton. Stegosaurus was an ornithischian dinosaur, which means bird-hipped. All ornithischians fed on plants. Orbit, eye socket. Nares, nostril opening. Skull. Jaw joint. Scapula, shoulder blade. Ribs. Mandible, lower jaw. Humerus, upper arm. Radius and ulna, forearm. Gastralia, belly ribs. Pelvis, hip bones. Ilium. Ischium. Pubis. Caudal vertebrae, tail bones. Deinonychus skeleton. Deinonychus was a saurischian dinosaur, which means lizard-hipped. There were meat-eaters and plant-eaters in this group of dinosaurs. Bony tendons. Tibia and fibula, shin bones. Knee joint. Femur, thigh bone. Sickle claw on second toe. Phalanx, toe bone. Ankle joint. Metatarsals, foot bones. Brain case. Cervical vertebrae, neck bones. Sacral vertebrae, hip backbones. Joint types. A tendon is the end of a muscle, where it joins the bone. Some dinosaurs had stiff bony tendons on their tail joints, making the tail extra strong and very rigid. Inside fossil bone. The bones of some fast-running dinosaurs, such as Deinonychus, show that they may have been warm-blooded like mammals, not cold-blooded like most reptiles. Did you know? More dinosaur fossils have been found in North America and Asia than anywhere else. Dinosaur muscles and organs. Experts can work out what dinosaur muscles and organs may have looked like by studying similar living animals. Digestive system. The big plant-eating dinosaurs swallowed their food whole. It was broken down inside the part of the body called the gizzard. Kidney. Gizzard, muscular stomach. Small intestine. Lung. Heart. Liver. Large intestine. Secondary digestion chamber. Reproductive opening. Brains. Models of a dinosaur's brain can be made using the shape of the space inside the skull. Spinal cord. Movement center. Smell area. Sight area. Model of the brain of Triceratops. Muscle scars. Experts check to see whether the marks of muscles on fossil dinosaur bones look like those on the bones of similar living animals. This helps them learn about the dinosaur. Hadrosaur thigh bone. Muscle scars. Modern crocodile thigh bone. Clues to muscles. Marks on bones show where muscles were attached in life. This helps experts work out how big the muscles might have been and how the animal moved. Iliotibial. Scapular. Deltoid. Anterior brachial. Digital extensor. Abdominal. Digital flexor. Naming the muscles. Many muscles are named after their shape, such as the deltoid. Deltoid means triangular. Others are named after the bones they are attached to, such as the femorotibial, thigh shin. Did you know? The first fossils of dinosaur footprints were found in the United States in 1802 by a young boy on a farm. Death of the dinosaurs 1. From time to time a lot of living things die out. About 65 million years ago, dinosaurs and many other creatures disappeared. How long? Dinosaurs were wiped out 65 million years ago. But this did not happen instantly. By 70 million years ago, there were already fewer dinosaurs than before. Not only dinosaurs. Flying reptiles called pterosaurs in the air and mosasaurs and plesiosaurs in the sea also became extinct around 65 million years ago. The asteroid impact. An asteroid is a piece of rock from space. Some people think that an asteroid hit Earth 65 million years ago. One asteroid hits the Earth. 2. Impact of the explosion spreads quickly. 3. Dust and debris cause climate change. The asteroid idea. If an asteroid did hit the Earth 65 million years ago, it would have caused huge clouds of dust and debris to spread. This would have blocked out the sun for years, so plants would have died. Without plants, plant-eating animals would have died, too, and then meat-eating animals. An enormous crater found off the coast of Mexico may be the asteroid's impact size. North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, India, Australia, Antarctica. Did you know? The asteroid of 65 million years ago might have measured 6 miles, 10 kilometers, across and traveled at 35 miles, 55 kilometers, per second. Death of the dinosaurs 2. There are lots of other ideas about why the dinosaurs and other animals died out. A few are very unlikely. For example, some people think that aliens came from outer space and killed them all. Diseases. Perhaps dinosaurs and other animals were killed by a deadly disease that spread across the world. Invisible rays from deep space. If a huge star had exploded in space, the radiation could have reached Earth. This would have killed large animals, such as dinosaurs. They could not hide underground like mammals. Climate change. The movement of the world's land, see page 193, may have caused climate change. If the weather became very cold, dinosaurs might have frozen to death. Choked to death. Lots of volcanoes were erupting 65 million years ago. The air might have been full of poisonous smoke and dust, which killed many plants and animals. The survivors. These ideas may explain why some animals were wiped out but not why others lived. If dinosaurs were killed by a disease, why did shellfish and some plants disappear, too? No one reason. Perhaps there was no one thing that wiped out the dinosaurs. It could be that colder weather and volcanic explosions had already killed some. Finally, an asteroid wiped out the last dinosaurs. After the dinosaurs. Once the dinosaurs had disappeared, mammals began to take over. They ruled life on land, just as the dinosaurs had done before them. Taking over. Mammals began to change and many different types evolved. Grasses first grew 25 million years ago and grass-eating mammals developed to feed on them. Many kinds of grass-eating mammals evolved. Coryphodon, Phenacodus, crocodile, Hyracotherium, Hyaenodon, Uintatherium, Smilodex, Metacherimys. An early start. Mammals had lived alongside the dinosaurs. But they were small and shrew-like. None were bigger than a pet cat today. The last takeover. Humans began to evolve about 4 million years ago, in Africa. One type of ape began to walk upright on two legs, and another type began to use tools. Not all survived. There were a lot of kinds of mammals in the Tertiary period, from huge many-horned rhinos to small, early horses. There were many reptiles, too, just as there are today. Dinosaurs all around? Some experts believe that birds are a type of dinosaur. This would mean that dinosaurs are not extinct at all but flying all around us. How fossils are formed. Fossils are the remains of dead animals or plants. These became trapped in the ground and turned into rock over thousands of years. What forms fossils? Only the hard parts of an animal can be fossilized. So there are fossil bones, teeth, claws, and shells. There are many fossils of shelled sea creatures, such as ammonites. Ammonite. Teeth and bone fossils. As the tooth or bone lies in the ground, substances called minerals gradually sink into it. The tooth or bone stays the same shape but slowly turns to rock. Heterodontosaurus skull. Tyrannosaurus tooth. Tyrannosaurus upper leg bone. Bone to stone. The dead bodies of most animals rot away. Very few become fossils. But if conditions are just right, this is what happens over millions of years. A dead dinosaur is washed into a river. Over the years, the bones are covered with layers of sand and earth, which becomes rock. Minerals sink into the bone and change it to stone. As the surface rock is worn away, the fossils come to the surface. Trace fossils. The shape of a footprint or a nest can also be turned to stone. This is called a trace fossil. Even droppings, coprolites, and eggshells can be fossilized. Fossil egg. Coprolite. Footprint. Fossil skin. True fossils. A true fossil is a fossil of a body part, such as bone or tooth. Some fossils of dinosaur skin have been found, but these are very rare. Perfectly preserved. Amber is a sticky fluid called resin that oozes from a tree trunk. Some ancient pieces have been found with the remains of an insect trapped inside. Did you know? The oldest fossils of animals that have ever been found date from about 600 million years ago. Digging for dinosaurs. Fossils are hard to find. But in some places, rocks from the age of the dinosaurs have been worn away by wind and weather, so fossils are nearer the surface. Searching for sites. Digging for fossils is hard work. Experts look for clues, such as a bone or tooth sticking out of a cliff or rock, to see if a dig may be worthwhile. Every find is carefully labeled. Tools and techniques. Explosives may be used to uncover fossils. Then a lot of tools, such as hammers and chisels, are used to break away the rock around the fossil. Diggers must take great care not to damage fossils. The finds continue. Dinosaur experts, such as Paul Sereno, are still finding new kinds of dinosaurs. Who knows what amazing creatures are still to be discovered? Did you know? Dinosaur fossils have now been found in every continent of the world, even in Antarctica. Displaying dinosaurs. You can see dinosaur fossils in museums in many countries of the world. Some museums also have lifelike models, which move and even roar. Cleaning. Tiny hand tools and brushes are used to take away every bit of dirt from a dinosaur fossil. The cleaning process can take weeks or even months. Preparing and sorting. Rebuilding a dinosaur from pieces of fossil is like building a very difficult jigsaw puzzle. Experts use their knowledge of similar creatures to put the pieces together. The right pose. Dinosaur experts do their best to display dinosaurs as they would have looked when they were alive. Seeing inside rocks and fossils. Medical scanners are used to see inside fossils. They show what condition the fossil is in and whether it is worth cleaning and preparing. Copied parts. It is very rare to find a whole dinosaur skeleton. So some parts have to be made to fill in the gaps. Sometimes the fossils are copied in light material, such as fiberglass. Life-size dinosaurs are an amazing sight. On display. At last, when everything has been put together and missing pieces filled in, the dinosaur goes on display. We can all admire a creature that lived so many millions of years ago. Some useful words and index. In this section, you will find explanations of some of the words dinosaur experts use, and an index of all the dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures included in this book. The end.